Good afternoon. I apologize that it's taken again a time to get to these fireside chats. Trying to get into a role of life, and then right now it just seems like the weeks are disappearing faster than they do normally, and so I apologize for that. But I wanted to make sure I got in touch with you today, uh, so you could all see me, though I can't see you, and just to continue to share life and faith with you in these days as we wait and we watch a bit. Of course, the notice from the governors come out that the extension of the COVID virus stay-at-home orders will go to the end of May, and that's okay. We can do this because we're still working, we're still functioning, we're still planning. There's conversation of how to put together VBS at the very end of the summer. We're going to be getting some new camera and hopefully audio-visual equipment to increase services to make them better. The church is meeting, the church is working, things are still going forward. And so they have to do with your life as well. They have to keep going. And so to that thought, I was going to share with you what's been in my head as I turned on my computer this morning, and there was just a beautiful picture on the screensaver. It's a picture of Alcatraz prison, lit up at night against a bluish sky and blue dusky background. I wish I could find a way to take that picture and send that to you. If I can, I'll send something that's like it. I know I can never access that on the computer, but the reason I say it was a beautiful picture is because it really is. It's a stunning picture. The mountains of California and the water and the sky all blue and around that island, and then there's this build up right in the middle of the bay, and this beautifully golden lit up building that happened to be a prison for some of the most notorious criminals in our history. It's interesting that something so terrible can be so beautiful. And then in the midst of the days, I've gotten a call from somebody who's taken upon themselves to start reading through the Bible and called with questions. What a wonderful thing. I had a great conversation with them. I'm so glad that they're working through the Bible. I encourage us, if people want to do that, we can find a way to do that, to just work from beginning to end and read through. But what a great tool. And they even said, I knew the stories, I knew some things, but man, all this stuff I'm starting to find out now. And all this meaning and this deeper stuff as I'm reflecting and growing, it's wonderful. And it really is. Because it's that information that's in the Word. It's what's in God's Word and who God is. And knowing God and what He does that makes even the ugliest things in this world beautiful. And perhaps that's why I'm struck by the picture of Alcatraz. It really isn't a very beautiful place, and you see it in the regular daylight. It's just gray, and it's now becoming more run down, and it's set against the backdrop of life going by it. Again, knowing its history and its purpose, the reason it was made, for holding prisoners, just not a good thing. And yet, to look at this picture, you find a stark beauty in it. Just like you find beauty in other terrible things. And perhaps what is needed for us, even in these days, is to use Easter and resurrection eyes. If I don't look at the picture with resurrection eyes, I just see it as it is, and go back to the core and the base of what it is. It's a prison, it's dark, it's meant not to be beautiful, it's meant to be containing, it's meant to be confining. But those are the eyes of the world that look into things. The eyes of Easter and the eyes of resurrection look beyond the thing and see the beauty that God can put into anything. Anything. God's ability to make anything beautiful and to redeem it and to restore it and to make it His. Just like you. Just like me. That's the gift of Easter that I think so often we miss, that it's not what Easter does for us per se, but the eyes that Easter gives us to see the rest of the world and the rest of our life in every day and every moment of it in lieu of Easter. To see with Easter resurrection eyes in the midst of brokenness like at this current time, in the midst of struggles when people are struggling without work, but there are ways to find support, and there are ways to keep seeking to help, and there's ways that if people ask for help, people will find ways to help them and serve them. It's the eyes that realize that this isn't going to last forever, and so we're still planning VBS. We're just planning it for late July, early August, hoping to bring other churches together and do it together. We're looking with Easter eyes into the things that are difficult of the day, to see the beauty of what God sees and can see despite the world that we live in. You and I live in a great time and place. Yes, even Rantoul, Illinois can be a great place and a beautiful place if you look for it. When I moved to Nebraska, never having lived on that side of the Mississippi River before, and we traveled out to the sand hills, it dawned on me as I looked at the rolling hills of sand, literally, and the beginning of tumbleweeds and just very sparse, craggy ground, that it had a beauty all of its own. It was different than the beauty I was used to. It was different to the beauty I saw with my eyes when I looked at big buildings living in big cities or saw flowering trees and bushes and gardens. But it still had a beauty that had to be seen and to be delved into, and a beauty because of the power of the creation that made it in the first place. Well, your life is that way as well. It is a life that has been made beautiful and redeemed again to be beautiful in God's gift of His Son Jesus for you. That's why we worship. That's why we come together. That's why we are beginning to realize, as more and more people are realizing, we just need to be together, and we need to look at each other with Easter resurrection eyes. Some people were delivering meals to some of our isolated and older members and people on Friday, and somebody came and said, all these people need is somebody just to come and sit and talk with them. I can't tell you enough how much everybody needs to be calling everybody on the list, trying to find a way to make contact, to make connection, to remind us we are not alone, to remind us that we don't stand isolated. For the people who are struggling with anxieties and depressions, you're not alone. God is here. God's present. The church is here. Reach out to others. Talk and let them listen and share life with you as well. Other people have lost family members again this week. Mary's brother passed away, and so sad because there's been so many other losses in her family in the last month because of this COVID thing. And yet she bears the light of Easter in her heart, and I know she does, just like all of us and all the people who've been losing family members here. And it will continue to go on because the world will continue to do and be what the world is. That part will never change until God comes and straightens it out for good. But in the meantime, He says, you're not alone. That's the power of all the Easter resurrection stories. That's the power of understanding the need for worship and more. That's the power of an empty tomb and a Christ who's walking now uncontained at random and showing up in places we least expect Him to show up. As we look and take our journeys on our roads, for lack of a better term, to Emmaus, as this week's text will take us, what we're going to see is that in the midst of our journey, Jesus just shows up when we least expect Him. And he comes to do something very specific, to open our eyes to see, to open our minds to understand. Will we be receptive? Will we be responsive? Will we be looking? Or will the things of the world and the darkness and the straight picture be the thing that we pay attention to instead? God's beauty is everywhere. and the world through resurrection eyes can see differently. And I hope and pray that for tonight and each day as it goes forward, you have resurrection eyes too. God bless you and keep you. May He make His face to shine on you and be gracious to you, and look upon you in favor and bring you peace. God bless you. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.